The house was always quiet on Tuesday nights, a silence Nick mistook for peace. He was late again. A workaholic, he called it. She called it Tuesday. The familiar ache in her chest had become as routine as his empty chair at the dinner table. She ate alone, staring out the window at the gathering dusk. The silence was broken only by the clinking of her fork against the plate. She pushed the food around, her appetite long gone. He'd promised to be home early tonight. A promise broken as easily as it was made. She rose, gathering the dishes with a sigh. As she turned towards the sink, a flicker of movement caught her eye. A shadow shifted in the doorway of their bedroom, barely perceptible in the fading light. A warmth, unexpected and alien, spread through her. He was home. Her heart quickened with a mix of relief and anticipation. He was early. Perhaps tonight would be different. Perhaps tonight the silence would be broken by laughter, by shared stories, by the comforting weight of his presence beside her. She stepped into the hallway, her hand reaching out to switch on the light. The warmth intensified, closer now, drawing her towards the bedroom door. Her fingers brushed against the switch, bathing the hallway in a warm glow, and then she saw him. But it wasn't Nick. A stranger stood in their bedroom, his arms wrapped around another woman. Their kiss was desperate, hungry. They clung to each other as if drowning, oblivious to her presence in the doorway. The warmth turned to ice in her veins, the blood drained from her face, leaving her cold and numb. The room spun, the walls seeming to close in on her. She wanted to scream, to lash out, to erase the image that burned itself into her mind. But she couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The world shrank to the size of that doorway, to the sight of her husband's betrayal. The man she loved, the man she shared her life with, was a stranger. And in that moment, she realized she didn't know him at all. Time seemed to stop. The air crackled with unspoken tension. The couple in the doorway remained locked in their embrace, oblivious to the silent observer. The woman in the hallway stood frozen, her breath caught in her throat, her heart pounding against her ribs. The silence stretched, agonizing in its intensity. The only sound was the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen, a stark reminder of the ordinary life that had just shattered into a million pieces. Doubt gnawed at the edges of her shock. Had she misread the situation? Was this some terrible misunderstanding? Her mind, desperate for an explanation, grasped at straws. But deep down, she knew the truth. The whispers started slowly, doubts morphing into chilling confirmations. The late nights at work, the unanswered calls, the faint scent of perfume that clung to his clothes. Pieces of a puzzle she hadn't known she was building clicked into place. The carefully constructed facade of their life together crumbled before her eyes. The laughter, the shared dreams, the quiet intimacy, it all felt like a lie, a carefully orchestrated performance designed to keep her in the dark. Anger, raw and consuming, began to burn away the numbness. How could he do this to her? To them? The pain was a living thing, twisting in her gut, squeezing the air from her lungs. The man in the doorway finally turned, his eyes widening in recognition. The woman in his arms followed his gaze, her face paling. The silence shattered. His name, her husband's name, tumbled from her lips. It was a whisper, a choked gasp, a question, and an accusation all at once. Their affair, hidden in the shadows for so long, was laid bare in the harsh light of the hallway. The truth, ugly and undeniable, hung heavy in the air between them. The warmth she had felt earlier, the anticipation of his return, now seemed like a cruel joke. It wasn't her warmth he had been seeking, but another's. The familiar silence of Tuesday nights suddenly felt different. It wasn't emptiness, she realized, but the absence of a truth she had refused to see. As she turned away, leaving the wreckage of their life behind, a single thought echoed in her mind. Some silences are more deafening than the loudest screams.